Hey, it's Victoria from Coastal Themes. In a previous video, I gave an introduction to components. Components, as we said last time, are ways to easily duplicate content across the site and keep elements consistent. There is one source of truth, and that sits here in our Assets tab. When you change any component in the Assets tab, all its instances change across the designs with it. We'll soon dive into complex components, but in this video, I'm going to show you the difference between variants and variables and the use of variables. So we're going to make this button, which is our primary button on the site. You can see we have many instances of this style of button. We're going to make this button into a component. So we'll click on the button, click on the Assets tab, hit plus, and you can see it prompts us to make a new component. It's named it button, but you can name it whatever you'd like. Hit create. Here you can see we have variant 1, primary. A variant is the type of button. So we can create a second variant, which creates a second type of button, and we can change the styling of this, the color, whatever we'd like. We'll leave it at 1. You can also create hover and pressed states, which will determine what the button looks like when the user is hovering over it or pressing on it. So now when we go back to our pages, you can see in layers that this button now highlights in purple and has a purple icon next to it, which indicates that it is a component. So if I go back to Assets, change something about the button, like the color or the font, it will automatically change wherever it is applied on the designs. So we'll see this with text. If I change this to Book a Surf Session instead of Book a Surf Lesson and go home, you can see that this instance has changed. However, you can see we may run into issues, especially with text. The only way we can change the text directly from the designs is to detach it from the instance. But then this would mean that it's detached from the component styling, and that's not what we want. That defeats the point of components, right? So let's change it back into a component and come back to the component itself. So I want to give myself more flexibility, and that's where variables come in. Variables give us more flexibility to customize the component within the designs. If we click on the text, come to the right-hand panel, scroll down to text, you can see content, which is where the text is being applied, now has a plus icon next to it. This indicates we can make it into a variable. Let's click on this. Here you can see create variable, and we'll create plain text. Formatted text is more for paragraphs and longer form content. Click plain text, and you can see it prompts us to make a variable for this button. We'll leave it as title, and we'll leave the default text as Book a Surf Lesson. Perfect. So come back to home, make sure the component's selected, scroll down, and you can see under button component there is now a variable where we can edit the text. Book a Surf Session. It updates here, but when you go back to Assets, click on the button, the text has remained the default text of Book a Surf Lesson. You can see how this could be really beneficial. So let's say I want to change the color, but I want to leave the primary button's color as purple. We'll come back to the variant, scroll down to styles, click on fill, and we can create a variable for color. We'll keep the name as background because it's the background color for the button, and we'll leave it as purple. While we're here, you can also see that you can make variables for loads of other properties. Let's go back to the home page, and now you can see background color is a property variable. We can click on this, change the button to whatever we'd like it to be, come back to Assets, and the button stays the same. These variables will only apply to this button. It won't apply anywhere else, neither in your assets nor on your pages. And there you have it. That's how you use variables on Framer. If you have any questions or there's anything else you'd like to learn about variables or components, leave a comment below. See you soon.